Okay, guys, we are so excited about our guest this week because you know him from Becca season, you know him from Paradise, and you may have even seen him at Stagecoach in the past. We have Blake Horstmann on the pod. Thank you, Blake, for coming on. We're really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been on this one yet, so yeah, it's
No, and we have a fellow podcaster, so you sound so crystal clear.
Pros over here.
Love it.
Yeah.
So, as I said, you were from Becca season. That's where you originated in the franchise. Did you watch Ari's season prior?
So I hadn't really watched too much Bachelor. I had seen an episode here or there. So, because I was going to school in Nebraska, I went to college in Nebraska, and so Jade's from Nebraska. So that's when everybody in Nebraska was watching it. So I kind of had seen an episode or two here, but I hadn't watched any until I kind of started going through the process, through the audition process to be on the show. That's when I tuned into Ari's season. And then I was looking at all the spoilers. I was like, well, that was gonna be Bachelorette, like all that kind of thing. So that's when I really got into it, was Ari's season.
Well, that was kind of our next question. When you were going through the process, I think up until the very end of Ari's season, people were kind of thinking the Bachelorette would be Tia. Did you want the Bachelorette to be Becca? Would you have preferred Tia, or what were you thinking during that?
Yeah. So actually, no, I didn't want Becca to be the Bachelorette, which is kind of funny. Thank God it was. I love Tia. Thank God it was Becca. But yeah, I actually either wanted it to be either Tia, or I actually wanted it to be Christina Schulman.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have been down for that.
That's who I asked for in the interview, was Christina Schulman.
Interesting.
And Tia was my second one. So those were the two. Yeah, I would definitely want. And then I don't know why. I think Becca just didn't jump off the screen at me, I guess, when I watched Ari's season. They didn't show a lot of her personality, because her personality is great, but they didn't show a lot of it. But then obviously when I started reading the spoilers and I kind of figured out what had happened there at the end with Ari and her, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she's going to be the Bachelorette.
Oh yeah. That's so funny. Yeah. That's interesting that you didn't want it, or you wanted someone else as opposed to her, considering what a great connection you guys had. So as a contestant, can you give us some insight? What is living in the mansion like? So many people are interested in if Becca was on a date, what are you doing? What is everyone doing?
Yeah. So in the mansion, especially, it's different when you travel, but in the mansion, especially, I mean, obviously you're wildly bored. You're so bored, but what happens, we call them man chats. And basically, let's say Becca's on a group date, and there's 6, 7 guys in the house. What they'll do is they'll be like, okay, so for my season, they'd be like, Blake, Jason, Colton, Chris, Hart, Clay, come over into this room, have a seat, let's chat. And then we'd sit down, they'd bring out the cameras, and then they would ask us a question, and then we'd talk amongst ourselves. Then when it died out, they'd ask us another question, we talk amongst ourselves. So that's going on as far as the actual production of the show. And then otherwise, you're just, honestly, you're cooking in the mansion, you're cooking, you're doing dishes, you're cleaning, it's all you. So you're cleaning the house, you're doing the dishes, you're cooking, all of that in the mansion. And you kind of just chill, and you can be, you work out a lot. You work out a lot because that's all you do. So you do a lot of we have push-up challenges and sit-up challenges and things like that. So, but you're very, very bored. Very bored.
I'm thrown by the cleaning because do they just provide you with Windex and give you everything you need?
Yeah, pretty much, honestly. And they won't the dishes will stack up in the sink and they will not clean. They'll be like, you guys have to clean. So
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, we clean. Another really cool thing about the mansion, at least, and it kind of when you travel a little bit, but they have a list, a piece of paper, and you can write literally anything you want to eat on there, or cook, and they'll bring it.
So you had your fair share of one-on-one dates, but also group dates. And we're just so interested. We know you don't get a lot of time on group dates, but can you shed some light on what exactly it is like how much time do you literally get with the lead on a group date?
On a group date? Yeah.
Well, let's do both actually. Okay. And one-on-one.
So group dates, no time at all. Now I had such a unique experience because I did have a very early connection with Becca. And I think literally if not only production wise, but if the lead actually likes you and there's actually a connection there, I'm not going to sit here and act like you don't. You do get extra time. You will get an extra 10 minutes, which is a long time in this process. So you get an extra minute there, an extra minute here. Not only because the lead likes you, but because production sees a spark there and they really do want to help it grow, if you will. So you do get extra time. So for me, I think I got more time than most people, but I want to say during the day portion, like I don't know, like if we're playing football or like, some kind of dodgeball or whatever it is, you get like no time with the lead, like 5 minutes max. She's basically on her own, doing her own thing, doing interviews, whatever it is. But at night, 10 minutes is like the low end. And I think like people like me, like I remember when I was in Vegas, I got like 30 minutes with her on a group date.
Whoa.
Yeah. The guys were so
deep.
mad. I know. I came back and I sat down. They're like, "Where the fuck you been?" And I was like, "I'm just doing an interview." So yeah, I think it depends, obviously. And then on a one-on-one, you get a lot of time. You really do. You get a lot of time. The whole day itself is probably 12 to 15 hours. And I bet 8 to 10 of that is spent with each other. So you get a lot. And again, like you have a great connection. Like I remember they would bribe Becca to be good to spend extra time with me. She'd be like, "I'll be really good if you let me and Blake ride home in the limo together." Things like that. So
define good, like what types of things?
Do what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like what type?
More of like production wise, as far as like, okay, let's stop this activity and moving to the next one. Like be more like willing to help out with almost like the production side of things, instead of being like, we're over in the corner making out when we should be over here, actually like doing an activity or whatever. So I guess it's just like, or like when she says, "Hey, you guys got a half hour and then we got to head back to the mansion or whatever." And we're a half hour and they can't find us. We like ran off or something. Cause I remember Becca and me ran off a couple times, like tried to literally outrun the like production stuff. So if we're good, we get extra time together.
Wait, where did you run to?
There was one time in the Bahamas, we took off running. We were outside of like wherever we were having dinner. And it was when I told her I was I was in love with
which one?
There's so many different options.
I know. It's crazy to think I said it before.
I'm starting to think about maybe wanting to fall in love, maybe.
Yeah.
So true. It's crazy. I actually think I said I was in love with her before Hometowns. That's fucking crazy.
That's like taboo.
That's early on.
That's way early on. That's
crazy.
Way early. Yeah. So I was in the Bahamas and I totally love her. And then we kind of came out of that, and then we took off running and tried to like hide behind this bush or whatever, and like get away from production, but you can't. They're everywhere. So yeah, there's like cool moments like that where you try and like bend the rules a little bit. So
yeah,
I always say like we're not always on camera as contestants, but the lead is. Like, anytime we are with the lead, they are on camera and it is recording. So you don't get any time. There was a limo ride we got from where that might have been the Bahamas. I think they gave us a limo ride together, which was like 30 minutes without cameras, which is they were.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
There, but it was a long time, yeah. And then they let us hang out, demiked, and everything again in the Bahamas in the ocean. Just kind of like holding each other and stuff like that, so we could actually have conversations that weren't mic'd up and everything. And we were like far away from production, so that was cool.
What happened in the ocean when you were holding each other unmiked?
Yeah. Mostly just making out, to be honest.
Mostly.
Okay. But otherwise, yeah, you're always mic'd up, and even if the camera's not on, they're still recording your mic, so they'll catch like little like sound bites from you.
Is that like from when you wake up to when you go to sleep?
Yeah, like the moment you wake up, if you go down to cook breakfast and you're not mic'd, they'll stop you. You have to go get mic'd before you come down for breakfast. Yeah. And then
what about when you go to the bathroom?
Yeah, mic'd.
Wow.
Always mic'd.
Awkward.
Yeah, always
What's like the interview process like for the ITMs and stuff? Because I've heard rumors that people have stay in the room for hours trying to get the right soundbite. Or did you ever have an experience like that?
Yeah, especially Paradise. ITMs
we'll get to it.
Yeah. ITMs can be very fun at times because you're excited about the connection you have. You're excited about the kiss you just had with her, or whatever, the experience you just shared, the conversation you just had. So you like run back to I call them literally the therapist. You run back to your producers, a therapist, and you like spill your guts and you're just so excited, or the opposite. You're really sad and you're spilling your guts to your producer, but you really do become incredibly close with your producer. You really, really do, to the point where like you're telling them secrets that you've never told anybody before, and you don't think it's a big deal because in a way, it is a brainwash in a sense, but it's less a brainwash because of the producers, but just the environment in general, because everybody is opening up. Like it's, and especially for men, like if you see another man open up, then it's like, oh, I can open up, and so it's like, it's just the environment in general really gets you to say things that you would never, ever say in real life, ever. Yeah.
Regarding the ITMs though, getting certain sound bites, like did you experience a producer trying to get you to say a specific line?
So sometimes they'll ask a question, you'll answer it, but they'll have you answer it in a different way. Like that does happen. So I guess maybe you could say that they wanted it, a soundbite in a different way, but you still said it, but I never had anything where they were like, we need you to say this, or at least we're getting there. And then you say it and they're like, finally, like cut. No, it's not. I never had that experience.
The situation that I know. So a previous contestant I got wind of this information. It's like a friend of a friend, whatever. But from a previous contestant, he was in ITMs and they would ask him a question. He'd answer it. They'd ask it in a different way. He'd answer it. And then they'd ask him again in a different way. And he's like, what is it that you want me to say? Like, what is the phrase? Because you're clearly looking for a phrase for me to say to fit your narrative somehow. So that's why we're asking that.
I mean, I have heard of that. And the producers are very good at asking the same question in different ways. You'll even catch them like they'll ask you a question and they'll be like, let's see. And then they'll just ask it in a different way kind of thing, you know? So, I mean, they definitely do want certain things, especially from like people who are like, I think Shanae is a good example of that. Like, I'm excited to hear her side of thing now. I think she said some terrible, horrible things and was pretty bad on this season, but I'm excited to see what she has to say. And like, because I know that there were some things where I was like, I can't believe she said that,
Yeah.
And I'm like, she probably sat in that ATM for 2 hours, until she was finally like, just beaten and, down and was just like, I'm just going to say it, get out of here kind of things.
I've heard that they would keep you in the room and wouldn't let you go until you gave them what they wanted.
So I've heard that too. I don't know if that's true. I don't think they can listen. They can't be like handcuff you to chair kind of thing, but they do have all the power. Like they do in those moments. And you feel like they do. And most people that go on the show are good people and they don't like upsetting people. They don't like, I don't know, like, they don't want to like rock the boat kind of thing. So like they will do if they ask me to stay for the next, 30 more minutes or whatever. Like there was times in Paradise when they don't let you pee, or even in Bachelor, they don't let you pee when you have to pee. So
wait,
like,
why?
Because logistically, like if cameras are around, or if Becca's about to come in, or if there's like somebody's about to come down the stairs and you would have ran in front of the camera. So like I remember in Paradise, there was like a moment where they didn't let me pee for like an hour. But like of course I could have been like, fuck you, I'm going to pee, but like I didn't, you know what I mean? It was more of like, you don't want to piss them off because they control everything. They have the power to make you look like an asshole. So like, it was like, as easy as it is for people to be like, well, geez, I would never do what the producers tell me kind of thing. Like in that environment, you kind of do,
Easier said than done.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So on Becca's season, you obviously had one of the strongest connections. She chose someone else. Do you think if she had chosen you, your situation would have been different? Like, would you still be together today if Becca had chosen you?
That's obviously very, very hard to answer. We had a great connection. Like I know we did when we were on the show. And that's one of the what ifs, that I think maybe, I mean, now she's got a boyfriend, she's super happy and everything, but like, you never know, I think we had a great connection, but I thought she had a great connection with Garrett too. So like, I don't know. I thought they were I don't think there was any way they were going to break up. So yeah, you just never know.
Did you ever really give it a shot with Becca after she broke up with Garrett?
No, we never really dated or anything like that. We chatted, we hung out, those kinds of things, but no, it was never like, let's do this kind of thing. No.
Just like, reconnecting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When you saw her connection with Garrett on TV, did it help you kind of heal, or was it worse because you also had just as strong of a connection on TV?
I don't think I'd say it helped me heal. I guess it helped me like kind of understand and comprehend in a sense of like, cause you obviously don't get to see any of that when you're filming. And I know we had a good connection and great connection. So seeing her, like it was like, oh, I guess I get it in a sense. But the real moment for me, like the healing moment, if you will, was after the final rose, not when I talked to her. Like that didn't really give me any closure, to be completely honest. Like most of that is just, you try to say the right things, like it's not actual closure. Very rarely do you get actual closure from that. Mine was when I saw them together on that couch. Then it was like, okay, they're both super, super happy together. Time to close the book, close that chapter, on to the next. So that was kind of the closure moment for me.
Okay.
So did you guys not become friends again until after her and Garrett broke up, or were you friends throughout?
We were friends. Like we never, I think I'm going to have a lot to say about this Women Tell All, I think, and this, even maybe after the final rose, but I think it's ridiculous when contestants go after the lead. I think the lead, they don't understand how hard that role is to do. They're getting 2 to 3 hours of sleep. They don't want to hurt people. You know what I mean? They don't want that. Like, yes, they're being completely open to the experience, and they're dating all these people and trying to compartmentalize certain relationships. It's incredibly difficult mentally, physically, all of the above. So I always think it's ridiculous. Like, all these girls coming at Clayton, like, yeah, I think it's a joke. And I think it shows, like, I don't think that should be the case, because it's very hard to be the lead in this franchise. So I never, ever would say me and Becca were not friends. Like, I wouldn't say that, but I think it was just an understanding, like, she's in a relationship, you know, and like, obviously we had a good connection. So it was just kind of like, go, you know, separate ways. But when we would do events together or appearances together, we were always very friendly. I was very friendly with Garrett. So yeah, we just had like a understanding and like an acquaintance, and then became, I guess, better friends. Yeah. After they broke up. Yeah.
Speaking of being the lead, they asked you to be the Bachelor, right?
I signed a contract. I did. I signed.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, I signed I was the first one to do the interview process and all of that. I got off my season, and literally by the time I think it was the 3rd episode of my season, they flew me out to LA to do the interview and everything.
Oh, wow.
So I was still hurting pretty bad. And I think that might have been a reason they didn't, I don't think they would have ever passed up on like a good looking white football player who's a virgin. I don't think they would have passed up on that. But maybe had I been interviewed later, I think I would have been a little bit more open to the idea in the interviews and stuff like that. Not that I wasn't, but like I was still very much hurting from getting dumped. But yeah, I signed the contract and everything. And we had a really unique experience because me, Colton, and Jason were super close. And we were all up for the Bachelor. I thought Jason was going to be the Bachelor. Jason thought Jason thought Colton was going to be the Bachelor. Colton thought I was going to be the Bachelor. So it was like this weird, like none of us thought to be ourselves. Yeah. And we would literally, anytime we had like an interview or a conversation, we would just hit our text message and be like, yo, I just talked to blah, 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 blah. We talked about this. And Jason's like, I talked to him yesterday. Or like, I remember a bunch of our friends and family were getting phone calls for like interviews or like background checks. And so we were like exchanged like what was asked and stuff, funny things like that. So finally, the producers were kind of like, screw it. And they threw us all in to a group chat with the producers, with like Mike Fleiss, Rob Mills, and all of us, just because they were like, if you guys are going to tell, let's just keep everything very transparent. And so I remember I got a text message on Labor Day weekend, like maybe that Sunday, because I think he was announced Monday. And they were like, that morning, Sunday morning, they were like, hey, we've made a decision. We'll call you each individually. And got a call, and they were like, hey, like, you know, we decided to go with Colton. Obviously nothing to do with you. We would have loved to work with you, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that's kind of how it went.
So did you all have contracts then at that point? And then 2 of you got them ripped out from under you?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty sure Jason also signed a contract. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
How does that work with like the one-sided, like, because you're signing a contract, so you're like agreeing to all their terms, but then their terms are just like, we could totally drop you last minute. Like, how does that even, I understand that that's literally probably written in, but like, how do they get away with?
They could literally get away with murder. Like, it's crazy. Like, literally, it's crazy the power they have. And that's why, in a weird way, I mean, it's evil genius, you know, because they're making a television show. They're not paying anybody. You know what I mean? They're not paying any of the contestants. They're barely paying the lead. They get paid by cities to come and film. So like,
I just learned that recently.
Yeah. So the profit, and countries will pay them to come there. So like
that's
the
insane.
Profit margin, I mean, they spend no money. I mean, they do obviously like camera, like paying, you know, employees.
Sure. Yeah.
Things like that. But like, otherwise that's like all they pay. So it's this evil genius, and they know we can't fight back. Like I think Luke Pell, I think he tried to like do something to the contract, and they told him to fuck off. Like, we have zero power. It even says in there, they can literally ruin our lives. They can make us look any way they want. They can put any kind of words in our mouth that they want. They can edit us in any way, and we can't do anything about it. But if we were to fight back, then we're out. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to play their game if you want, you know, and it's hard. It's very, very hard. I've had people look at the like actual lawyers, and like other people look at the contract and like, you signed this? Like, what? You know, so it's pretty crazy, this contract.
Why do you sign it? Like, why did you?
I was such a believer in the process and in the show and in the producers. And I was just like, I was this innocent, such an innocent, naive person. So I was all for it. And I think that moment was when I kind of lost my faith in this franchise, not because I wasn't picked as the Bachelor, because that's not the reason. Because I get asked like, were you mad when Colton was picked as Bachelor? I was like, no, and I wasn't even surprised. You know what I mean? I wasn't like shocked. It was more of the sense that me and Jason went in being like, in our interviews, and me especially, Jason's a lot more business minded than me, but me especially was like, I just want to fall in love. You know, I was just like, I just want to find my wife. And I was just like, you know, so into it. And I was like, you know, Mike Fleiss, you created this incredible thing where they're little human beings created, like children created because of you in the show and like all this. And Colton went in like, if you want a love story, you're going to pick Blake and Jason. But if you want high ratings, if you want a crazy story, if you want drama, you're going to pick me. And
he said that, or you think that's...
Well, he said that. He's been very open about it. Jason's been very open about it. Jason talks about it in his book that's coming out soon. Like Colton went in there completely business mind. Completely business. He's talked about it in interviews and podcasts, where I didn't. I went in more for like the love. And I think I'm glad I did that. But I think that was me, where I was like, oh, like this show isn't about everything that everybody's been telling me it's about. And the producers like brainwashed me to think. So it was just a big moment for me where it was like, oh, I'm going to go make fucking money then. Like, I'm going to go try and do what I can. Like, it's like they can be business minded, but we're not allowed to be, you know? Yeah. And so it was it was like an eye opener for me. I was like, okay, like, yeah, I'm not the Bachelor. I'm going to go do what I can with this platform.
Yeah. So much so that I feel like even now they start like punishing people for being like business minded about it. Like you go on Paradise and you say a whisper of followers and like the show will turn on you and give you a horrible edit.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. And like they openly, producers openly, and I've talked about this a little bit, but like they openly hate that we make more money than them. Like, because they feel like they made us, you know what I mean? Like they created us.
That makes sense.
And then we go out and make 4, 5, 10 times, you know, some of these people more money than they are. And yeah, it pisses them off. And it pisses off, you know, like some of even the executive, you know, EPs, that we can go out and make this money. And yeah, so that upsets them, and they try and bury you on the show if they feel like, and I do want to say that happens a lot. Like we talk followers and all that a lot, like this Brandon thing that happened, like that, not to that extreme, that conversation doesn't happen, but like conversations like that happen a lot on the beach. Right. And you know, yeah. So
I want to touch on money while we're talking about money, because our listeners love like that insight. I heard that you were offered $100,000 to be the Bachelor, and so was Colton and Jason. Is that true?
Yep, that was that $100K, you know, which is ridiculous to think how much money they're pulling, right? But again, you can't negotiate, you know, so because they'll just go on to the next person. They'll be like, oh, you're going to negotiate? We're going to take Jason for $100K. So yeah, it was $100K to be the Bachelor. And then as far as like Paradise and everything, you get paid by the day in Paradise.
Your rate was higher than everyone else's, wasn't it?
Yeah, my rate was pretty high going into to Paradise. I don't want to say it was like way higher, but I want to say it was like I was getting like 800 a day.
Okay.
Maybe.
Who was that like, Jackie? Is
that's isn't that what Chad said he was?
I was going to say, is that Chad?
But that was a few seasons before, and he's like, that was a record at the time. But I'm sure obviously now like, lots of people are making that.
Wait, we had Chad like a while ago on, and he's like, yeah, I made $800 a day. And I'm like, but wasn't it just one day? And he's like, yeah, I got $800.
And some people will. So Colton did negotiate because they wanted him on Paradise so bad after Becca season. Remember, he went down there. He actually got, because I think he knew he wasn't going to be down there very long. He just went down there to be the Bachelor, like to try and get a Bachelorette. He actually negotiated. I think he negotiated like a flat fee of like $10K. He was like, you can keep me down there, but like I want a flat fee of $10K if I'm down there for a day, or if I'm down there for 20.
That's why he like kept trying to break. Well, I mean, there may be other reasons why, but like he was trying to break up with Tia over and over, because he's like, dude, I'm getting this money regardless. Yeah, no matter what. Out. I don't need to be like bathing with crabs and like all the shit you guys go through.
And people are like, it's a free vacation. I'm like, it's not a vacation. Like, it's hot. There's monkeys, snakes, spiders in your bed. There's no air conditioning. It's high anxiety, it's not a vacation. Like people think that's gosh. Not. Yeah.
Well, let's move over to Paradise. It's a good segue.
Yeah. Can we talk about before Paradise though? Can we talk about the Stagecoach era to get a sense of what we were coming into? Because I'm sure the Stagecoach era. Yeah. So my understanding of it was you and Kaylin had been talking for a little bit after your season. That kind of dropped off, met up in Stagecoach, hooked up. You and Christina were friends, were in Stagecoach, having a good time, also hooked up. And was that the status of your relationships going into it?
So kind of. The only thing that's different is me and Christina actually dated.
Right. No, I did know that.
She met my family. We hung out for about 3 months. We met my family a couple times. So we were like dating probably like November of 2018. to like, no. I don't know. Anyway, the last 2 months ish of 18 into like January of 19. So we had actually hung out, dated, we had like tried it. We never really like 2 feet in tried it kind of thing, but like we had given it a shot and everything. And Kaylin and I had kind of started chatting like I'll never forget. Hung out with Colton after a season. Obviously, of course, it's like, do you like any of the girls for me? Blah, 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 that kind of thing. And it was funny because he said Kaylin. Part of me, I'm joking here, but part of me blames Colton for everything because Kaylin, if you remember correctly, Kaylin and Cassie were like inseparable.
Oh yeah.
They were like best. And he literally was like, dude, you got to get Kaylin away from Cassie. Like we can't have any alone time together. Like she is always there. And that's why he literally was like, Kaylin, meet Blake, Blake meet Kaylin, because he was like, dude, get her away. So it was like us talking. Yeah. So that's why he introduced me and Kaylin. It wasn't even like you two would get along really well. No, he was just like, get Kaylin away from Cassie. They won't leave each other alone, So that was why I first started talking to Kaylin. And we had chatted, we had, DM'd, texted, things like that. And then, it fizzled out for, honestly, I don't even remember I think part of it was her whole thing on Women Tell All. Like, I think that kind of was like a shocker to me because like, I don't know, seeing her cry the way she did about Cole, and she's now admitted openly on a podcast that like she was doing that to be the Bachelorette, but that was like a bit of a like, whoa, like you feel that way about Colton still, even though we like all hang out and talk together, like that's weird, and so it kind of fizzled out around there. We didn't talk for a long time, maybe like, I don't know, 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Stagecoach comes around, and I'll never forget, I knew everybody was going to be there, like that wasn't a shocker, but I remember Colton was like, hey dude, so like, is it okay if like Kaylin stays at our house with us? And I was like, no, like that's not okay. I don't want to start these rumors. That's just not a good look for me and us in Paradise. And he was like, okay. I was like, don't worry about it. You don't need to say it. I'll text her. So I texted Kaylin and I was like, hey, listen, like I like you, but like I don't think it's a good idea if you stay to the house. And she was pissed, very angry at me. And she was like, whatever. And she ended up staying at like the guest house or something, like the actual brand guest house in Stagecoach. And which is cool, fine, whatever. But obviously she was at our house all the time because Cassie was staying with us and everything.
She doesn't leave her alone, apparently.
Yeah. And so Friday nights, Christina, okay, I think we actually dropped her off at her place because I had a ride, and then I went back to my house and we texted, and she was like, should I come over? And I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea. Paradise is like very close. And her exact words were, I'm a woman and I have needs. And I was like, okay, all right. Like if that's the mind frame you're in, then come on over. Like, and it was a complete, like who hasn't hooked up with an ex? You know what I mean? Like it was there was no like relationship there. There was no,
wait, this is Christina or Kaylin?
This is Christina.
Okay.
Yeah. So there was never any like, we're going to date after this, or there's more to this. Never.
Right.
It was like exes hooking up. Like who hasn't,
And just clarifying, you're saying it would be a bad look for Kaylin to be in the house or for Christina to come over because you didn't want to be spotted with either of them because you knew you were going to Paradise? Like why was it a bad look?
Yeah. Because I knew I was going to be in Paradise. I knew they would be in Paradise. I knew the internet would start talking. Christina.
Yeah, that was going to be part of my question is like, why did you and Kaylin like agree, quote unquote, to keep it private? It's for that reason. You didn't want to go into Paradise connected, kind of.
Yeah, because I think obviously even the slightest things, like you're seen with somebody you're in a relationship. So it was this after party called Neon Carnival, and a buddy of mine was DJing, and I had like the big table. I had the table, like Gronkowski was at my table, Sam Hunt was at my table, like all of these people, and then like all of Colton's cast was at my table, and it was like Kaylin was standing next to me, and Tayshia was standing, and everybody thinks, and I know like there's some fan favorites here that I'm about to talk about, but like everybody has a business mind frame, guys. So you can believe that like they're going in for like genuine connections, and to a degree there are, but they very much care that I would have had the most followers, the most popular guy going into Paradise. 100%. I was like top of everybody's list, not because they thought we'd get along. It was because I had the most followers and I had the most clout.
Not because you're cute.
Not because I'm cute. No, not at all. It was because I had the most clout. Clout goes a long way in this, this franchise. So of course, like,
dude, I'm like, so fucking good. I love it.
I'm a little too honest sometimes. But
are you drunk? I'm just
kidding. This is me sober. I know. Nice. But yeah, like, Tayshia was like trying, was like flirting with me, and Kaylin, and like all these. Actually, the person I probably talked to the most that night was Kirpa. Like I was just like,
we had her, love her.
Yeah, Kirk was great. And so it wasn't like I was like out there like playing and was like, oh, I'm gonna have sex with her. Like it wasn't like that. But yeah, and then I got back to my house, like it was literally like 4 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Me and Caitlin start texting. She's like, I'm gonna come over. I was like, you saw the text. I was like, no.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna sit here and act like I was innocent. You know, I did end up saying yes at the end of it. It was stupid. And I did think it was a big mistake not to sleep necessarily with her, but just like to sleep with anybody from the franchise going to Paradise. You know what I mean? I knew it was stupid and everything. And I didn't want to lead her on. And I wish I would have actually said it. And I almost did. I remember I almost texted her and be like, I don't want to lead you on, but I know I would have looked like a fucking cocky asshole. And she would have called me out on it and been like, oh, you're such a cocky dick. You know what I mean? But like, that's what I wanted. I didn't want to lead her on like that. And that was understood. Like she also, like, as you saw, like it was just sex, nothing more, nothing less. Like there was no talk of like anything after that. The next morning, like we were all hanging out. It was not a big deal. The next day we hung out. It was not a big deal. Like, so I think where the shocker was that we were friends. Like we were friends. I'll never forget when about a week before Paradise, it got out, like other people started to know that we had hooked up, me and Caitlin. And she called me having a complete panic attack, like a complete break. Actually, I texted her. It was like, hey, people know that we hooked up. And she called me like hyperventilating, like having a breakdown, and was like, oh my God. And I was also, I'm not gonna say, I was also having a breakdown. Like I was also hyperventilating. And so it was shocking to me how it played out on the beach, because I'll never forget, I called her like 3 days before we left, like 2 days before we left, to check in and be like, are you okay? Like, I know you were having trouble with this. Like, I was like, everything's going to be okay. Like, who cares? It's not a big deal. And she's like, you're right. And I was like, if people want to talk about it, if we're asked, we'll just be honest. Like, but if it doesn't come up, then we don't talk about it. And I was like trying to calm her down going down there. And then all of a sudden it flips completely. And I'm like this monster, you know, down on the beach. And I like played her and I ghosted her and I used her and I silenced her and like all of these things. And so watching it, like when it was happening, filming, I didn't know any of that was happening. I didn't know she was saying any of those things.
How much of that do you think was editing versus what she was actually saying?
So I think so I haven't watched it back because I have too much PTSD and I get too triggered.
That's fair.
But I remember while watching it, I think there was one time I was like, oh, I think that was edited. And that was when she said, I sweet talked her into bed. I think she did say that at some point. Like, I don't know. She could have been saying Dean sweet talked her. You know what I mean? I don't know. But they did. I think that was clipped in there, was like, he sweet talked me into bed. But I think people forget, like, especially now, it's been damn near 3 years, how, like, the thing she actually said about me that I treat, like, I remember she said I treated women like garbage.
No, it's fucked up.
Yeah. And that I don't, like, some of the things she was saying was just so overboard. And especially the like I said, I didn't know she was saying these things. She was saying them in interviews, and she was saying them to people on the beach. She never said any of this to me, because I would have obviously stood up for myself and been like, wait, what? Okay. But the biggest thing that really drove me to do what I did, to stand up for myself and defend myself, was the silencing part, because that was just, it almost made me look like a sexual predator. And I was getting attacked by like the Me Too movement and like all of that. And that was so far from the truth of me silencing her that was when I felt like I couldn't, like I had to fight back. And I'll never forget, like I remember talking to people, because I think I had been home like 2 weeks, because it's 6 weeks from filming to air. And I was home for like 2-3 weeks, and I literally was like, I didn't leave bed like for 6 weeks leading up to the premiere. But I think I was talking to Demi maybe, or somebody, and they were like, yeah, she told me you silenced her. And I was like, what? And I was like, no, that, like, what? Like, because I know I was going to get attacked for that. So I started calling everybody. And I remember talking to Jordan Kimball, and he was like, yeah, she was saying that. But he's like, they would never air that, man. Like, that's too far. They would never actually air that. And not only did they air it a little bit, but like they aired it multiple times, you know? And so I was just between that, you know, Kaylin and the show, it was like, I was helpless and hopeless. And I was like, I got to defend myself. And so that's when I decided. And that people think that like releasing those text messages was like an easy decision. It's one of the hardest decisions I've ever made. I was stripped down to my underwear, all laying outside on my deck, breathing into a paper bag after because I was having such a bad panic attack. And so like, it was one of the hardest decisions of my life. I was yelling for my mom to call an ambulance because I couldn't breathe. And like, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. So I don't want people to think like it was like this, like smite, like I was like, I'm going to get back at her, because that wasn't the case. But yeah, it was a decision that I stand by, and I don't regret.
Did you ever talk to her and ask her why she said those things?
Yeah, that's a good question.
So I wanted to, so we'll talk about the reunion because
okay.
Oh my God.
I went into, the reunion was shocking for me too, because I really did think I was going to go into the reunion and get some apologies. Maybe a little bit from Kaylin, but more than like from some of the other cast members, because they said some pretty terrible things about me on the beach. And they all apologized to me privately. They all apologized to me, but publicly, they didn't, and they wouldn't. And so that was very frustrating. I thought I was going to come in there and like sit down and be like, I'd get like, I think Demi called me like a turd that won't flush or something like that. And like, I think Tayshia said some mean things about me, but it was the opposite. Like they came at me. Like I think Onyeka told me like, go fuck myself. And like Annalise told me I'm not a man. Like
I'm just
laughing because
it's
like so random. Like,
yeah.
Onyeka, what do you have to do with
I know. Well, there's always those people in the reunions trying to get that.
No, of course. I know. It's just funny.
Annalise said I wasn't a man and like I should be a man. I just accept. I shouldn't have released text messages even if she lied. I just accept it because I'm a man. And I was like, what? Like that's the most sexist thing I've ever heard. But so going into the reunion, I was pretty shocked standing up there because that's literally the question I wanted to ask was like, why? Like Caitlin, we were friends. Like why, but I can't remember how Chris Harrison led into it because he asked me this question and it wasn't even a question. It was a statement. It was like, it wasn't like, do you regret? It was like, how much do you regret? Or something like that. Like he like attacked me almost where it was like, because he was so far like I shouldn't have released it. Obviously he works for the show, so it was like this weird thing where I found myself defending myself, and then I think people saw the opportunity to like jump on me because I was automatically on the defensive. But yeah, no, I never got the answer. I've never gotten the answer. And I think she did answer a little bit. I think she said she exaggerated quote unquote things, and she felt like I was ignoring her when she got to the beach, but that's just not true. She started talking shit at the top of the stairs to Chris about me. And she did the Bachelor Happy Hour podcast about a week before the premiere of the show, and they didn't air it. It was riddled with so many lies. So like, it wasn't because of that moment, I just think, and listen, I don't think Kaylin's a bad person. I don't. I think the environment got the best of her. The production got her really good. I've heard some of the things they did to her down there. They isolated her like crazy. Like you wouldn't even know Kaylin was down there. Anytime she came over to us, they'd take her away, poke her like a bear. They'd poke her until finally she blew up on me. So I think it's a 50-50 thing. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna sit here saying like I'm innocent, obviously, but like, I just think she did a bad thing. Kaylin is not a bad person. And, I don't think we'll ever be friends. But like, I have forgiven her, and I like, we're acquaintances. We were at Ben Higgins' wedding and like, we were fine. You know what I mean? But in that moment, I was very, very angry with everybody and everything. And I was just frustrated and stuff. The reason I don't think me and Kaylin could ever be friends, you know what I mean, is because like, I don't trust her. Like you don't want to be friends with somebody you can't trust. You know what I mean? Like, again, I've forgiven, but I'll never forget. You know what I mean? And I think most people agree that what Kaylin did was wrong, right? I think most people agree, like, even if it was like she was angry at me, whatever, like the way she went about things was wrong. And even if you don't believe she straight up lied or exaggerated, quote unquote, like she called it. So if you think Kaylin was wrong, you wouldn't know she was in the wrong unless I released the text.
Exactly.
Message. So it's like, how can you say she's wrong, but then say I shouldn't have released a text message?
Right.
That's like how I always defend it.
Like I can understand the view of her not wanting those text messages to be public, but the only way you had to clear your name was doing that. Like had you just released an Instagram story saying it, like people are like, okay, shut up. Like, no one would have believed you and no one would have taken it seriously.
Again, I felt so helpless and hopeless. And I did reach out and ask people for advice, and like, it was 50-50. Like half the people were like,
who told you yes and who told you no?
I mean, I don't want to say names.
Okay, fine.
Nobody really and even there were a few people who said no, but then I sent them the text messages and they were like, oh yeah, like you have to release these. Like, because I'm sure they thought it was just gonna be a simple like, like you can't really tell if she lied or not. But then like they read the text message, they're like, oh man, like yeah, you do have to release these kind of things. So
did you talk to Kaylin on the phone like right before you released them? Is that what they said in the reunion?
So to a degree, I talked to Dean.
Okay.
Dean called me and tried to get me not to release. But it's so funny because I had tried to talk to Kaylin for a long time before it was released. And I talked to her, I think, like 3 weeks before when I heard the silencing part. And then I actually watched the first 2 episodes. And I texted her on like Saturday. I was like, we need to talk. Didn't hear from her. Because I'm sure she watched the episode too. And she was like, oh, shit. And then I got a call about 2 hours before I was releasing the text message, because I think word got around that I was going to release them, because I had sent them to certain people. And I got a call from Dean in a text saying, all of a sudden it was like, let's go do a live, and like, let's go us against production, and that they edited it and like that kind of thing. And I was like, no, because I know that you'll say you're going to do it and then you won't. I think some people are like, you'll get your word at the reunion. I'm like, no, like that's
no, because they have final say of what gets aired.
What the edit is. Exactly. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to wait until the reunion. I'll be buried. I lost 60,000 followers in the first 2 episodes. And then I dropped the text messages and I gained almost 200,000 in 2 hours. Like, it was like, yeah. So like, I was like, no, I'm not going to sit here and like, let you like run with this narrative and let the show run with this narrative. Like, I'm not going to do it. Yeah. So we did talk right before, but it was honestly too little too late. Like, it was like, you had a chance, and it was that kind of thing. I do think in that moment, again, I bet the producers were poking her and being like, look at Blake with all those girls. Like, he's such a
I was going to say, I have a theory on this. I think you made it very clear you weren't really interested in her in that way. And I think she liked you more and was kind of like upset and jealous and disappointed that we come down to the beach and you're interested in all these other people and she's not getting any sort of attention.
Exactly. If it was, and this is again, like why I say it's like 50-50, like production and her, because I think she would have just come up to me and talked to me about it. You know what I mean? But the producers would not let her. And I think maybe she would have handled it a little bit more, especially like what I've seen now of her, like post show and everything with her and Dean. Like, again, I think she's a good person. I think she would have come up to me and maybe tried to like actually have a conversation with me, but the build up, it was like so perfectly played by production. It was like, I went on those 2 dates to start, and then she's like back at the villa, like crying and being all upset. And then I get back and I just like pull her aside to talk to her. And all of a sudden I get this like volcanic eruption of all of her emotions that she's been building up for days. Cause they had her 3 days in quarantine or in isolation too, in the hotel where they're just poking her. So it's just, yeah. And not only like her reaction and everything, but also like the pee thing that I talked about. Like, I don't know if you've heard this story, but like I had to pee really bad. They waited for me an hour. I ran to the bathroom to pee and they filmed me, and then they aired it, me running away from Kaylin when she came down the stairs, and they dubbed words over me being like, oh no, fuck, she's here.
Yeah, I've heard that before, but it's nice to hear the confirmation.
Wait, what scene is this? So you had to pee and you're running away, and they made it look like you were running away from Kaylin.
Yeah,
when Kaylin comes down on the beach. I just watched this today. So
I'm watching this tonight, obviously. So when she comes down for the first time, you're saying, right?
Yeah. So I had to pee. So again, logistically, especially that first day, there's so many cameras, so many people everywhere. So the first day I do understand why you can't necessarily pee whenever you want, because there's so many cameras and you never know when somebody's walking down the stairs. So I had to pee really bad. And I was like sitting there and I was like, oh my God. And finally they were like, you can pee, Blake. And I was like, oh, thank God. And I like ran to the bathroom, but somebody was in it. So I was pacing. And then, that was hours before Kaylin came down the stairs. And then when it aired, they showed Kaylin coming down the stairs, me quote unquote seeing her and running away, and then pacing, being like, oh fuck, oh no, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But you could see me grab myself because I have to pee so bad in the video.
Oh my God.
So that's an example of like the power of the editing and everything like that with production.
Yeah.
One more thing. This is Paradise adjacent. What happened when you flew down to Alabama to see Hannah G? Was she the person you intended to like date in Paradise?
Oh, wow, I almost forgot that happened. Like, it's so crazy to think, because of all of that was almost like a tiny little storyline. Yeah, so I wanted to tell Hannah G before we got to the beach about all that. I wanted to tell her about Christina and Kaylin, because I knew that if I got down to that beach, who knows the way it would play out. And so I flew to Alabama. I was literally there for 12 hours. No, we did not sleep together. We kissed. I would even know if I'd call it a makeout. We like kissed, but it was like, yeah, exactly. It was like one of those. But yeah, I just went down there to tell her and to open up about her. And she was who I was interested in. We had talked and we had a good connection and everything, I thought. But yeah, I'd made some very big mistakes with that in Paradise, as far as like taking Tayshia on that first. I love Tayshia, but like taking Tayshia on that first date and then going on the date with Christina, and her and Dylan are great together. But like,
should you have taken Hannah, you mean?
If I could go back, I mean, obviously it's hard to say that now because her and Dylan are literally soulmates. But like, yeah, if like there was something that I always say, like, the craziest part about my edit, if you will, in Paradise is like, I did nothing wrong on camera. You know what I mean? Like, they took my entire narrative and created it and put it on camera and put it down on that beach. So I would say the worst thing I did was take Tayshia on that first date. And that's like, if that's the worst thing I did on camera, it's crazy to think how terrible I looked, because it was all hearsay. And
like you were villainized, like you were the villain.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like it was all just from people talking. Yeah. It's crazy to think like nothing was actually said. I didn't say or do anything wrong on camera. It's pretty crazy.
Well,
insane.
Yeah.
Paradise.
I want to specify real quick.
Yeah.
Obviously I'm not going to sit here and blame everybody for everything. I made some mistakes. I wish I could have gone back and done some things differently. And like, I don't think Keelan's a monster or Christina or whoever else. I think some of the producers are monsters, but like, I don't think the contestants are.
Yes.
So yeah, I just want to end it.
Yeah. So Paradise is a good show, but you know what other show I really like?
What's that?
Netflix. What is that show? Love is Blind. Have you ever watched Love is Blind, Blake?
I actually have not watched it. I have not.
Interesting.
I like season 1.
Who's your favorite?
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite from season
Who's your favorite
1?
character?
Nick Lachey.
Obviously Nick Lachey. What is up with that he's like, and I'm Nick Lachey, obvious. Like, why is that a thing? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I've honestly never watched the show. So
do you know, Jackie?
I really haven't.
Like, what do you mean? Like him coming on and saying he's Nick Lachey?
No.
What's weird about that?
No. On season 1, he comes out and I think he says like, and I'm obviously Nick Lachey, and it became like a meme because people were like, why are you obviously, like, it's like whatever.
Right,
so in the second one, I appreciated he came down and he's like, and I'm Nick Lachey, obviously. Like he like,
cool.
it was cute.
That's pretty funny.
That's funny.
So
it's rumored that you are kind of dating Miss Giannina Milady Gibelli. Any comment on that?
No comment.
No way. You gave me that winky face. You probably don't remember, but I DM'd you and we actually talked about it on the podcast. I was like, he wrote back a winky face. That means something.
No comment at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. So
all right. Well, that
moving on.
Out the 3 other questions that I had. So next topic.
Well, I guess we'll see you later. Like, bye. Okay. So now this whole Stagecoach thing is coming full circle because you are DJing Stagecoach. Like, way to like the comeback kid. I actually really love this when I feel like, I don't know, like you weren't the underdog in the franchise overall, but I feel like in Paradise, like they villainized you when maybe you shouldn't have been villainized. So it's a cool full circle story. I'm happy for you. How did that all come about?
Thank you. Yeah. I'm so excited for it. It's weird. It's weird how everything works out. You know what I mean? Because even weirder, had Stagecoach not been canceled basically like for a year or two, I don't know if I would have been able to, I wouldn't have been in my DJ career to be able to do it. So this really is the first Stagecoach since that Stagecoach. So
wow.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So it's the next
go.
Stagecoach. Yeah, you should, because there's going to be
business trip.
We're getting, write it. It's a write-off.
Of course.
There's like going to be a ton of Bachelor people that are coming to support me. We're actually getting like a little Bachelor house, it looks like. So there's going to be like tons of people. And yeah, honestly, it's just they had reached out to me in 2020. Then in 2021 to just promote, and to get like free tickets and to promote and things like that. And then this year they reached out and they were like, we'd love to not only have you promote, but then also DJ the honky tonk, which is like the tent, the side tent, if you will, like the after party type vibe. And I was like, that's freaking amazing. Like, yeah, that's so full circle. It's an amazing opportunity and it's going to be fun. Like, it's going to be so much fun because I know the crowds at Stagecoach. And I just, it's going to be so cool. And I think in a weird way, everything kind of worked out the way it was supposed to in a weird way. So.
It's like you taking back the narrative a little bit.
Exactly. And I'm going to do, it's going to be, it's going to be fun to make some content too while I'm at Stagecoach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be all very lighthearted and very like take back the narrative.
Yeah. Do you want to plug when are the dates? When is this all happening?
So it's the last weekend in April. I think it's like the 28th, the Thursday, the 28th through the 2nd, Monday. And I think I'm playing Saturday, but I do not know exactly when yet. But yeah, so we're going to I'll be there the whole weekend. Got the, it's gonna be really fun. We're super excited.
What city is this?
So it's in Coachella Valley. So it's literally where Coachella is.
Okay.
It's like they leave the stages up and then Stagecoach is the next weekend.
Okay.
So it's in Coachella Valley in Palm Desert. Yeah.
Palm Desert. Yeah.
So
I'm going on a bachelorette party that exact time period, and I'm going to Nashville, and I was like really looking forward to hopefully like hanging out with some Bachelor people. And now it seems like they're all going to be at Stagecoach.
They probably will be.
Damn.
Probably will be.
And I would have liked to come.
Yeah, I'd say it's funny because everybody thinks like Stagecoach was like, but those Bachelor group, like, you know, the group meetups and the group hookups and all that was happening for years. It was just suddenly they decided to make it part of the show on my season.
Right.
Like it was,
yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah.
Do you think certain Bachelor people like going to those things so they could take pictures with other Bachelor people for the clout?
Oh, absolutely. I do. I'm not going to sit here and like, yeah, absolutely. If you get pictures with Bachelor people, there's better engagement. And honestly, it's fun. You know, I think most 98% of the people in Bachelor Nation are good people and fun. And you know what I mean? So it's just a good time. Yeah.
That's what I assumed anyway. We had talked a couple of weeks ago about some guys from Katie and Michelle's season all hung out, and it was like 5 of them, and they all took pictures, but all 5 of them had a picture of all 5 of them on all of their grids, and they were just like different poses. And I'm like, there's a strategy here, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when we got off the show, me and Jason got off the Bachelorette, we were like fucking like a traveling duo. We would go everywhere together and because we just knew, you know, like it was gonna be a bigger deal with the 2 of us. Yeah.
I love it.
That's so cool.
This transparency. I mean,
oh yeah, I don't hide anything anymore.
No. And like we've interviewed over 15 people. Like this may be the most like
I think this is the best one. The most dramatic interview
ever.
Yeah.
In Bachelor history.
In Bachelor Nation history, yes.
So can you tell everyone where they can find you besides Stagecoach, like socials or whatever you want to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me at balockaye.h on Instagram, BALOCKAYE.h. Also, same on Twitter. And go listen to and follow my podcast, Behind the Rose Podcast. We talk everything Bachelor Nation and country music. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Keep an eye out. I got a fun project dropping here in about 2 more months. So keep an eye out for that as well.
Okay, cool. Well, Blake, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. Guys, go check out Blake. Go get tickets to Stagecoach, and we will be in touch.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.